Good morning. Today we're on page 22 in Tanya, chapter 7. Yesterday we learned a fascinating idea that the Alter Rebbe discusses here, and that is what happens to the energy when it's used for Taiva, for indulgence. And the Alter Rebbe explained that temporarily it enters the realm of Shalosh Klippas Atmeis, of the three complete contaminated klippas, and it's up to us to elevate it back to its proper place. So overall, the discussion here in Tanya Perek Zayin is all about Klippas Noiga, the position, the purpose, and the objective of the translucent klippa. In chapter 6, he discussed the Shalosh Klippas Atmeis, the one category called the three membranes of contaminated klippa, which is complete negativity. In this chapter, in this Perek, it's all about Klippas Noiga, but in order to understand Klippas Noiga, he also speaks about when Klippas Noiga, when neutrality, right, when something that's neutral enters temporarily the realm of negativity. So let's now continue the bottom of 22. We'll go to 7 lines from the bottom after the period. Ach, mi shehu b'zeilalei. 3, 6, 7 lines from the bottom. The last 4 words. Ach mishahu. Ach mishahu b'zeilalei basar. However, someone that is a glutton of meat, v'seive yayin, and a consumer to the point of intoxication of wine, and he does this lemales taivas gufay, in order to fulfill a taiva, an indulgence that his body desires and wants. And not only does his body desire that, but v'nafshi habamis, his animal drive wants that as well. Shehu b'chinas yisoid hamayim, this comes from the element of water, from the 4 elements that are bad when they're used for bad things, i.e. for indulgences and cravings, that the element of Taiva comes from the midas hamayim, from the element of water. He's not saying, Hillel, that water is bad. Water is neutral. But water is the source for kol minei tainug. It makes things grow. So when you use taiva of food, wine and meat and anything else, you're basically schlepping the element of water into a bad place. That's the pshat here, okay?
I think a good word for that is like conducts the energy of taiva.
Okay, thank you.
In a good direction.
Okay. Would harness also be a good word? Harness? Yeah. Okay. So he says, Hine al yedei ze yored chayis haboser v'hayayin. So because of his lust and desires, he descends, he lowers the energy that comes from the meat and the wine that you ate and you drank. That's within the person now, because he just ate and he just drank. V'nichlal Avram, v'nichlal levisho, and temporarily it's been included, bera gomor, in complete evil, shebesholosh klippas atmeis. At that time, it's no longer just a taiva. Guess what? You've now taken the energy, the chayis, and the chayis is bera gomer. Now, notice we're talking about the chayis, about the energy. We're not talking about the person. That's what the Alter Rebbe adds now, Hillel, and Issa with the words v'gufay. From the word v'gufay, he's referring to the person. In other words, there's 2 things going on here. Chevra, listen with your head. There is what we call the Chefza, the object, in this case, the Chayis, the vitality, the energy, and there is the Gavra, the man. In general, in Torah study, we always look at two things, Gavra and Chefza. The individual, the Gavra, the person, Chefza, the item. The Alter Rebbe here is alluding to the same thing. There is the Chefza, the item, i.e. the energy. Where is the energy? What happens to the energy when the energy indulges? So the Alter Rebbe says, the energy is temporarily in Ra Gomor. You schlepped it into a bad place. One second. What about the person? Let's read the next few lines. The Gufay, and the person's body, Nasa Lahen, becomes for the klippus, Levoshu Merkava, a garment and a chariot, also Lefisha, only temporarily, Ad Asher Yosheva Adam, until man will do tshuva. V'yachzer l'avodas Hashem, and he will return to the service of God, u'leteirasei, and to the study of Torah. So the Alter Rebbe here too says, not only is the energy been schlepped into a place of klippa, of tuma, of shalosh klippas atmeis, of negativity, and it needs to be schlepped out, but your body becomes he uses the word levushu merkava, a garment, a vehicle, an instrument for a bad situation, because you've become a piece of meat. You've become a drunkard. Lefisha. In your essence, you're not that way. But temporarily, that's what you become. Yes, Hillel.
I wanted to ask if do we have do we have a language for describing the distinction between the shalosh tameos, klipos and tameos? Meaning, are there three klipos that have different functions, and that we have ways of sort of identifying them? Or because I only have heard the term in the kind of general terms.
Are you asking whether we have a knowledge and verbiage for the three klippas atmeis? Is that your question?
Well, distinctions between them. So, for instance, here we're talking about how something that was taken in something from klippas noga was taken in a low l'shem shamayim way.
Yes.
Do we then say, well, it goes to this place in the Shloshes Klipos and Tameos?
Not that I'm aware of, but maybe in Kabbalah there is, but I'm not. In other words, I wanted to say that the Alter Rebbe on page 11 in the previous chapter, he brings from Yecheskel Ruach Se'ora Anan Godel. I don't know if you were in the Shir, and then it says Eish Mislakachas. It says V'goymer on page Yud Aleph, right? When he talks about the Shalosh Klippas Atmeis, he says V'nikru B'merkevas Yecheskel. The three are called in the chariot of Yecheskel. One, Ruach Se'ora, a very strong wind, a storm-like wind. Number two, V'onan Godel, a great cloud. And then he says, V'goymer, etc. What does it say in the Pasuk, if you look it up? Eish mislakachat, a burning flame, great fire. So each of those are another membrane of the klippa, concealing God. Now, if you're asking me to which of those three does it go into, I don't know, and I'm not convinced that it says. You follow? But for that you have to study Kabbalah.
There's a central idea of there being shlosha klipos and tameos, that it's zel umazeh, since there are shloshas, there are three worlds of goodness. No. So again, I think you're making a mistake. The shalosh klipos atmeis are really one.
It's not three.
Okay.
It's not three categories. It's one category with three layers of obstruction.
Yeah.
So it's
that I understand.
okay. So it's not 3 versus 3. It's 1.
Okay.
And also, where'd you come up with this idea that it's this whole? Okay, zel umazeh. I think I understand what you're saying, but you're making a mistake. If I understand you correctly, zel umazeh, right, which we began at the beginning of chapter 6, which you referred to a moment ago. It refers to the 10 faculties of the soul. The 10 faculties of the Nefesh Elikis, Chabad Chagas Lehim. The Alter Rebbe says in chapter 6 in the beginning that the Nefesh Abamis has its 10 faculties. That's the Zelu Umazeh.
Okay. I also thought that it really meant that it was somehow in the structure of creation. That that just like that there are powers that energies that move us or direct us towards godliness, there are energies that take us away from godliness or into the world of concealment.
No,
and that they would be balanced in their force and in the world of creation.
No, that's true. Hillel, that's true, but that doesn't get equal what you said earlier, like 3 against 3.
Okay.
Like this. Maybe somewhere it says that. I don't know, but from what I've been taught, what I learned, I have never found that type of you understand? The Zelu Mazeh, if you want to break it down in kind of mathematical terms, it's 10 and 10 versus 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the general idea that you just said a moment, that whatever there's in Klippa, there's in Kedusha, whatever's in Kedusha in Klippa, as a generality.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying. But again, you would have to really study Kabbalah, go to a real someone who knows Kabbalah well. Maybe there's more in the Sifrei Kabbalah, and so.
Understood.
If you ever come across it, let me know. Maybe the Kamarna is very big in Kabbalah. So maybe in the Sfarim of the Kamarna, he definitely learned Tanya. We know that, so maybe he gets into this. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but that's where I would probably, look at. Okay.
Does the Kamarna bring the Tanya in his writings?
I believe he does.
Yeah. Okay.
I believe he does. I mean,
I've seen things. Seen things in Kamarna writings that I thought might be references to the Tanya, but they were not explicit.
No, he does. I mean, the Taiva, there's a famous disagreement between the Mittler Rebbe and the Taiva on the concept of time. And our Rebbe has an entire letter on that subject. So the concept of time that the Mittler Rebbe brings is also based on his father, the Alter Rebbe. So there's no question that they learned seriously the Tanya and probably with the Torah and Torah too. You know what I'm saying?
I remember you're describing that machlokus, but I don't remember exactly what the sugya was. Can you just say it briefly?
The sugya was whether time is to be viewed. Is time the way we understand time, or is there something what we call seder zmanim, the order of time, which isn't time? It's like the blueprints of time, but not limited to time. It's a complicated field. I haven't revisited it, so I can't talk intelligently about it.
It's remarkable that you could say that sentence without drugs.
Yeah.
Dalfin.
Yes.
I have a meeting right now. I have to log off. I'm in the office today. I have a meeting right now.
Okay, be matzliach. Anyway, so let's go back. We're now, Chevra, that came a little late. We're on page 22 on the bottom, going on to 21. And the last thing that we explained is that there's two things. One is the hefza, the item, the energy, when you eat food, you understand, you get energy. What happens to that energy? So the Alter Rebbe says over here, that energy, if it's eaten with taiva, with indulgence, it goes temporarily into a place of negativity, shalosh klippos atmeyas, bad stuff, and it needs to be schlepped out. Then he says, not only that, but v'gufay, it's the second line to the bottom, second word on page 22. V'gufay nasa, your body. Here he's not referring to the item, the chayis. He's talking about to you, the gavra, what we call in Talmudic terminology, the gavra. There's the cheftza, the item, and then there's the gavra. The gufay, the person, the gavra, he too, nasa lehem levusha merkava lefisha. We become a chariot, a garment, an instrument, and a chariot, lefisha, temporarily, ada sheyoshev adam. So there's no quick fixes. This is the bottom line from this section of Tanya. Cheved is very important. You got to do tshuva. In other words, if we want to the taivas that we indulged in, and we indulge in, right, and we want that to go back to you got to do tshuva. Now the question is, does the tshuva help for the item, for the cheftza? The tshuva helps for me, for the person. I do tshuva, so I'm schlepped out. I leave. I vacate the realm of negativity, and I can start fresh and all over. What about the taiva? This is going to be discussed on the next page at great length. What happens to the energy that was misused? It's a fascinating insight that the Alter Rebbe goes into now, making differences of the energy in this issue and that issue. Let's continue now. The last word on the bottom of page 22. Since our indulgence in this right now in Tanya, we're talking about, it was kosher. It was kosher food. And it was kosher wine. That's why they could be returned and elevated with the person who does tshuva to the service of Hashem. Because this wine that I drank with taiva to the point of intoxication, and I ate like a glutton, like a behemoth, the bottom line is, it's kosher. It was kosher. And the Alter Rebbe says this is indicative in the word kosher and usur. Look what he says. Shehu lashon heter umuter. Kosher is associated with the word heter, permissible, umuter, permissible. Kleimar, this means to say, when you see the word kleimar, he's interpreting kleimar. She'einoi kosher v'asur b'dei chitzayim. It's not bound, kesher, kashur, v'asur, and prohibited in the hands of the extraneous forces. Asur means it's tied up. You cannot untie yourself easily because Hashem says this is forbidden. It's treif. It's not kosher, misused, abused. It's be'etzem, in its very essence, essential core, it's forbidden. So it's bound. It's kashur to the chitzonim. And therefore, that cannot be elevated to God.
This is what you said, Rebbe, yesterday.
No, I did not say this yesterday, because here we're talking about something that is not kosher. What you're talking about, the kiddush, the fressing and all that, it's kosher. It's animalistic. It's temporarily in a place of no good. Look what he says. But through tshuva, you can schlep it out. When you're eating something not kosher or doing something that's not kosher, it's bound. It's tied up to chitzayim. You cannot untie it. However, he says that even though you could re-schlep, you could elevate the Taiva from the negative place it finds itself back to its good place, guess what? Harashimu mimenu nishar beguf. There's always damage. There's always a remnant, a reshimu, left over. And that's why, v'alkein, there's still hope, chevre, v'alkein. Tzaruch haguf l'chibut hakever. Our body needs to go through a process called the banging of the caver. Common as the Alter Rebbe, and he says, as I write, we'll explain later in the next chapter 8. I'm not going to go into that right now, what that is. I'm going to leave that for chapter 8. But one thing's for sure. Our body will have to go through, that body that's buried in the ground, with its soul that goes to Hashem, will have to go through a process of chibud hakever to bang out and wash out the stains of shmutz. So when it goes into Gan Eden, it's clean. It's beautiful.
The wash machine.
The wash machine. Exactly. It's exactly right. But Yaini, it's not fun. Just picture your shirt in the wash machine with chemicals and spinning and noise and banging. It ain't fun. So we don't look forward to chibud hakever. But the Alter Rebbe says that since, even though we do tshuva and we leave this place of taiva to a good place, in other words, let's say like this, Yaini, we stop dressing like an animal at the kiddushin. Okay, we say to ourselves, enough already, right? The fact is, last Shabbos you didn't do that. So what happens with the energy of last Shabbos? It's still in your body, in an unhealthy place. And for that you need a process to get that out. Yes, Moshe.
Rabbi Dalfin, when you say the energy, could you just go back for a second? What you just said about the fressing. You said if you don't fress, you say if you do fress.
No, we're all going on Yoina's trajectory of the kiddush fressing, okay? But let's say this coming Shabbos in Shul, someone who last week ate like a behemoth, like a glutton, like a fresser, and this week he learned this piece of Tanya, and he says, enough. I don't want to do this again. And he makes by himself a resolution that the chont and the kishke and the steak and the kugel and the 20 kugels that they serve for 3 Shabbat, when you have 3 Torahs, the Laksha kugel and the Yerushalmi kugel and the potato kugel, and he says, if I have it, it'll be a drop, and I'll make a bracha, and I'll let everyone go before me, and he mamish, and this Shabbos, you look, you say, wow, what a change! This fellow, for the past year, I've seen him indulge in this, right? Gewaltig. So this now and then next Shabbos, that's the way he eats and he changed. But what happened with everything that with the energy that comes from the food from last week? Where is that energy? Now the answer is, Moshe.
Okay.
Excuse the expression. It's not in the toilet. That's ridiculous. That's just the excrement. That energy is in his bloodstream and in his flesh. And therefore, before you go into Gan Eden, you need to clean that out, because you can't go into Gan Eden that way. That's, by the way, one second. You understand? I'm going to give you in a second.
This is like a spiritual...
Wait. So, this isn't the only way to get rid of it, but this is bepashtus. When we talk about the different punishments that we go through before we go into Gan Eden, there is rhyme and reason for it. That's what we're learning here. You see, what was the Alter Rebbe do here in Chassidus? He breaks it down in logic. You learn Kabbalah, you did this, you get this punishment. You did this, you get that. Okay. The Alter Rebbe here explains what you did, and I'm glad you asked Moshe about the energy. So he says it's still in your body for last Shabbos, even though now you did tshuva. So you did tshuva, but the energy from last week is still there. How is that going to be corrected? So far here in Tanya, he says it's going to warrant chibut hakever after your life. Yes, Yonason, your question.
Yeah, you said what? You got hot water and cold water, boiling water and cold water. So that's the way the dirt gets out by the boiling water and the stove. So when you go into Gehenna, it's pretty hot over there, and you burn why? Because you ate with Taiva, you ate with Christmas, you ate with heat. So the halachayim, that if it goes in with heat, it has to go out with heat.
Right. What Yonis has said is very true, and thank you for saying that. It's pshat. Yonis has said that when you eat with taiva, which is like you're boiling, you're excited, you're passionate, the tshuva that the body will need in that time is this boiling water, spiritual boiling water in the wash machine cycle to get the stain out because you ate it in such a way. So what if you do a taiva in a cold way? Then you don't need that. You need another type of tikkun. In other words, there's rhyme and reason between the tikkun and the avera and the transgression. We have a few more minutes. Let's continue. Well, Cain, Mashain Cain, conversely, b'maycholos asudas. No. Now I want you to turn in your Tanya to page Kuf, the back, Tzadik, Kuf, Tzadik. It's opposite page 378 in the Luach HaTikkun. The Luach HaTikkun is the corrections that the Rebbe put together based on original manuscripts because some things were changed either by the censor or other reasons. And here we have not a change, but an addition that was omitted. And it's relevant to us. Are you ready? Page Kuf Tzadik. The last part of the page, on the right side, it says Daf. The Daf is on top, and you go down to Yud Beis. Daf Yud Beis, because we are on the Hebrew side, we're on page Yud Beis. Before I want to make sure you have it. Do you have it? Yeah? Yonason, you guys have a Tanya? I mean, if you don't, get a Tanya. Okay. L'kamon. So we just learned l'kamon, the word l'kamon. Before, the Rebbe says there was another line here. V'chein hachaya shebetipa zera sheyotzu mimenu b'taiva bahamis sheloi Kaddish atzme b'shas tashmish in ishtay. The same applies, same idea. The lust when one is with their wife, which is animalistic, if not sanctified and done for holy purposes, it will require this chibut hakever. And for some reason, this line was omitted from the text of our Tanyas. And it's the same idea. One second. It's the exact same idea. In other words, it's not wasting semen. It's not nocturnal omission. It's living together in a kosher way. It's mutter. What? But wait. But the way you allowed your semen to go into your wife or was with taiva, with passion, with lust. That energy needs to have tikkun. Now, of course, people will ask, what's wrong? And this is what Chassidus says. There's a difference between, holy love, kosher passion, and taiva love. And it's very refined, especially in the heat of the moment. This is not an easy thing, but this is what Chassidus, what the Alter Rebbe points out here. That of course you need to eat, and of course you need to sleep, and of course you need to be intimate. But it should be done without Taiva. And if it's not done without Taiva, you need to take that energy or those drops of semen that came forth from Taiva, and they will need to have a tikkun. Now, when you think of this and you ask yourself, am I a chassid? Where am I? Or better said, it just shows that everyone has what to do tshuva for. I'm going to say, it's not your beard, it's not your streimel, it's not your payas, it's this. And Chabad Hasidim over the generations, not only Chabad Hasidim, but I'm saying these were issues that Hasidim really, really, thought about. It used to be in a way where they were kind of, in various communities, Hasidic groups, they were obsessed about these things. In Ger, I don't want to go right now, it's too long, the shir has to end. They were obsessed with these things. In Chabad, they weren't obsessed, but you see, the Alter Rebbe brings it here in Tanya's, and to the point that somehow it was taken out, and it's not even an hour Tanya's. Yes, Moshe.
Rebbe, you're not going to like my question. I can tell you right off the bat, you're not going to like my question. My question is, if this is the case, and this is what it says in the Tanya, then why in Chabad a $5,000 shekel, $5,000 shekel is the minimum in Chabad?
It has nothing to do with. It has to do with. What does that have to do with Chabad? And Satmar is not $5,000, and Lakewood's not $5,000.
No, Rabbi, Chabad it's more than the Satmar. The Satmar they put a kvetch, and then they put like a hat on top, and it's not so nice. That the Chabad shekels are the most expensive and the most elegant. Telling you, Rabbi, my wife, when it comes to a shekel, it is like the Kodesh Kadashim. I'm not kidding. Rabbi.
Okay. I'll talk about it another time, not now, please. I want to say to the Tanya. Yes, Moshe.
I just want to go back for a second, just exactly this point, and maybe this is a question for tomorrow, but can't we also say though that there can be kosher taivas?
No.
Meaning, obviously the Alter Rebbe does not expect a man to be like some sort of a robot.
No,
his wife.
Of course not. But it should be l'shem shemayim.
We're talking about but we know we're talking about right now. This example is an example that requires. There's a tremendous amount. It's a very refined, sensitive line, and it's this point. If I believe that the chassid has to take that. Has to be extremely sensitive.
So let me try to give yes, Isser, and Isser, and then we'll try to give one answer for everybody.
Works.
What?
Okay, you read Sedaros, and the Berditchever brings down also by the Imahos and the Shvatim, when they named their children, he says, don't make the mistake to think that they were naming their children, now my husband will love me, after Gashmias things. They were all remazim to Avodas Hashem. Brought the Berditchever.
Okay.
Chas v'shalom, to think that the Avos and the Imahos even had Taivas related to.
Okay. So, look, two people can be together in the most special way. The question is it because you cherish the mitzvah, or because you're attracted to a pretty body? Okay, if I have to spill it out. And if it's attracted because of a pretty body and you really have a taiva, that's taiva. But if you're, in other words, it's a mikveh night. It's a special time. And our chachamim give us a list, which unfortunately a lot of people don't know about. how to prepare yourself spiritually for an intimate mikvah night every time, but especially to learn together, to give tzedakah, to look at holy pictures. I mean, these are things I remember when I was a bacher, I mastered and took into me, so that hopefully I'll be able to, live this way and as much as possible. What do we see? Not that you should lay there with your wife and be a cold fish and no, that's wrong. That's not Torah. That's not Hasidus. That's not what it said. No. But to understand that this idea is a mitzvah, a good glass of wine. Let's go back. Of course, intimacy is much more sensitive, like you said. But a good glass of wine. I could feel the grapes. And I could feel how long the vintage and all that. Now, that's Taiva. But if you're saying, I've sensed in this Rashi, the maker of wine, and you relate to that, and that's where you're coming from, that's where you really are, of course. So, it's not easy. Moshe, it's not easy. There's no question. And it's not to say that a person should not be passionate and all that. Of course they should. But it should come from as much as possible Kedusha. And I think that's why the Rebbe and others, I'm sure, have, for our generation, kind of given us, ways, how to implement this. I'll give you one example, and I have to go to another shir. But the example is, it's brought down in the Sfarim Akdoshim that the union, the intimate union, should be really after midnight. Do you know that? That's what it said. So, Melamdim, teachers, wrote to the Rebbe, and they said, you're talking about real Chassidish Talmidei Chassidim. They wanted to do what it says in Kabbalah. But they said they have a class in the morning, they have to teach their children in the Cheder. And for them to wait till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning to be intimate, it will disturb them in the morning. And the Rebbe wrote back to them. And the Rebbe said, it's fine to be intimate before midnight. Now, if someone has the luxury of being Mekayim, this that it says in Kabbalah, no problem. But what if your wife's asleep already at midnight and you're really asleep and you're awake because you want to do what it says in Kabbalah? It ain't going to work either. But my point is that if in our generation, all these inyanim have been, I'm not going to say trickled down and watered down. Chas v'sholom. The Chazal and the Gedolim and the Tzaddikim and the Rebbes understand the generation and understand that certain applications, because this isn't like if you're going to be intimate, it must be after midnight. No, it's not an Aveira if it's before midnight. It's a preferred recommendation based on the Kabbalah and the Ashmitis and the Mises, spiritual things. No, first of all, are we on that level? Are we on the level that we do mitzvahs and we live our life based on this? These inyanim? Let's not kid ourselves. So I think that you have to look. But what the Alter Rebbe says here is a truism, and it will not change. I don't care what the world is into and what the world's at. Taiva is Taiva, and Taiva needs to be worked on and controlled. And if not, you need to have tikkun. That's it. Can't get away from that. You can't get away from it. It doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It just means that I still have a nefesh habamish, I still have a yetzer hara, and I'm normal. And that's what the Alter Rebbe says in chapter 27 in Tanya, which is the Gewaltigkeit of Tanya. One of its chedushim for people is, you're normal if you have a yetzer hara. You're not normal if you don't have a yetzer hara. You're normal if you have a taiva. Just control your taiva a little more. Chevra, have a great day. Good discussion. We'll see everyone tomorrow. Bye-bye. Take care.